Welcome back to another episode of Refining Rhetoric, and I'm so excited to have my friend Troy Meachum here. He has given me so much wisdom over the years and has really helped me transform classical conversations into the organization it is today. And this conversation is so fun. If you're a business owner, if you run a CC community, or you have a family, you are going to be blessed by today's episode. So without further ado, let's jump in.
Classical Conversation Studios presents Refining Rhetoric with CEO Robert Bortons, a podcast where faith, business, politics, and classical education meet. Join us as we use the classical tools of rhetoric to seek truth in every arena of life.
And hello and welcome back to another episode of Refining Rhetoric. I'm excited to have my friend and fellow C12 member Troy Meachum with me. Troy is the CEO of North Carolina's leading wholesale distributor for heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration, ACR Supply. And he started that in 1980, or he started working on that when it was owned by his dad. He's since taken it over in 2008 and has seen significant growth. And he is a person that I go to for advice, and he has helped me just navigate things all the time. So, Troy, super humbled to have you with us, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks for having me, buddy. I'm glad to be here. And I don't know, I think I've probably learned more from you than you've learned from me over the years, but thank you anyway.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think that was one of the benefits of being when I was in C12 up in Raleigh, and of course we weren't in the same groups, but being able to get together and just ask each other good questions and see how things were going. So I really appreciate that. Tell us a little bit about your journey in ACR Supply and how you got to where you are today.
Sure, no problem. As you mentioned, my father started our company back in 1977. And actually, it was March the 18th of 1977. It was my 16th birthday. That's why I remember it. He got a phone call from his current employer at the time and told him they were letting him go. They knew that he was going to be leaving and doing his own thing. And so they let him go. So kind of put a tarnish on our birthday dinner. But either way, I remember it like it was yesterday. And then I joined him. I joined ACR Supply in 1980. And I opened my first branch location in 1984 in Chapel Hill, Carrboro, North Carolina. I became a believer in 1988, and been a lot of milestones since then, but which I'm sure we'll talk about today. But yeah, we're currently sitting at right about 92 team members, or I look at as families that we help support at ACR Supply. Where our current revenue this year will probably end up somewhere around 45 million. And we just feel blessed. We've had a journey. It's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but as you mentioned too, I bought the company from Dad about 15 years ago, something like that. And it's been awesome, and it's been awesome to watch and be a part of. And because I feel like I got the best job in the world because I get to work with the greatest group of people in the world.
Now, Troy, you've come and done some training with us on crucial conversations. You've always set a high bar for employee engagement and culture. We both do the Best Christian Workplace survey to see how we're going. So why the emphasis on a healthy culture at work?
Well, it really kind of began after I became a believer in 1988. That's when the Lord radically transformed my life. I was actually in the Carrboro store, running that store at the time, and it just kind of turned my world upside down. And slowly but surely, over a period of time, I began to realize that that we, our culture, our organization was pretty much like everybody else, and I wanted it to be different. I wanted to glorify God in the way that we went about doing business every day. My dad is a believer, but at the time, in that season of life, that season of the century, not a lot of people were actively engaging in their faith in the marketplace. Because, as a matter of fact, people, I guess, felt like it was two different things, right? So God began to work on me and just kind of convict me and convince me that I'm actually one person. I'm not two people. And so I wanted to begin to really live out my faith in the workplace in a very healthy way, hopefully a productive way. I'm not a Bible thumper. I don't thump people over the head with a Bible and try to tell them what they need to be doing, nothing like that. But I do want to live my life in a way, Robert, where people look at me or look at our organization and go, man, there's something different about them. There's something different. I want what they've got. And it's kind of like the model of corporate chaplains as well. Just in a non-threatening way, I want to live out our faith every day and just love people well, care for them, and care deeply for people while we care deeply about the outcome. So as this began to unfold, and we had I called it a big paradigm shift, maybe a watershed moment in '97 when that's when everything began to really change in our organization. I really got serious about this thing about creating a healthy workplace, a place where people get up every day and they want to come to work. And I was passionate about it. So that meeting that day, really, we defined our first mission statement. Part of it said healthy work environment. So I began to think, man, I want that. I think I know what that is. I'm not really sure though. So I began to study, read, do a lot of research and reading, and going to seminars and stuff on work culture and leadership. And I guess the results have been pretty phenomenal, because I tell you, we are so blessed. And I feel like the majority of our people do get up every day and they want to come to work. They don't get what my daughter-in-law calls the Sunday scaries. A lot of people are
Yeah.
like Sunday afternoon, oh God, I got to go to work tomorrow, doing the death march to work every day. And I just don't want people to. I want people to really enjoy what they do every day and feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. Our purpose statement, Robert, is to build relationships, impact lives, and glorify God. I want people to have strong, close, authentic relationships with their coworkers, with their customers, our vendor partners. I want to impact people's lives. I want the day that Mark or Corey retire, they can look back in their life and say their life was better off because they were a part of the ACR family, because we helped them and also encouraged them and held them accountable to grow personally, professionally, financially, and spiritually. And the last one is to glorify God. And so that's the one rule I live by. If I glorify God the way I treat my wife, the way I love her and love her well, our team members, if we do that, glorify God the way we love our team members, our customers, our vendor partners, the UPS driver, then that's all that matters to me, because I just want to hear, well done, good and faithful servant someday, because I just want to glorify God. And I think that driving that driver, if you will, for me to do that comes back to that one thing, is just want to glorify God and to be excellent, be an excellent example of what a believer in the marketplace should look like. And so that, I hope I answered your question.
No, that's wonderful. Obviously, AC work is typically blue collar, roughneck. So, how did the employees really respond to this as you rolled out this like healthy culture, and how have you able to maintain that as you've been growing?
Well, that's a fascinating and a great question. So I told you about '97, we started really focusing on this, put an emphasis on this healthy work environment. And so here's what happened. The response was, mixed, as you can imagine, right? But what I began to do, Robert, is I began to sit down with some long tenured team members who were not contributing to a healthy work environment. And that's a hard conversation, right? But I always do
Yeah.
it with dignity, treat people with dignity and respect. And I believe in the phrase change people or change people. I want to help people change and grow, right? But if not, we're going to ultimately have to change. I don't like doing that. It's not no fun. But it's ultimately, to be a good steward of your culture and your company, you have to do that. So I began to define, okay, here's what's broke, and here's how you're not contributing to a healthy work environment. Here's what we're going to do to help you to grow and change. And here's what the future's got to look like. And if we can't get from here to here in this time frame, I love you, but you can't stay. And that's a hard conversation, and I don't take those conversations lightly. But what I have found, Robert, is I could no longer continue to burden those individuals who've given everything they've got every day with those who are not. I just
Mm.
thought, that's not being compassionate. That's not being loving. And so I felt like some of that was happening. So about the second or third time that we had to love someone out the door, that was really not only harming our work culture, but they were it was toxic. And so about the second or third time we loved somebody out the door and loved them out well, people went, dang man, he must be serious. I said, yeah, I'm serious. I said, I don't want to be miserable at work. You want to be miserable? I want to glorify God in what we do. I want this place to be a light in the marketplace. The world's dark enough. I want us to be a light. And we can't do that if we got people standing around gossiping, being negative, and just backbiting and all this stuff. And so that's when things begin to really change. And then we did a lot of other things that we began to measure our culture, which we'll talk more about, I'm sure. We began to do employee satisfaction surveys, engagement surveys. So we began to really measure how can we be better, and so that's really helped us continue to not only figure out where we are, but continue to help our work culture grow even more healthy every year. So, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, and have you seen that being able to attract new talent? Because most businesses I see have now hiring on their signs, and we hear about employees quiet quitting and massive turnover. Ha- have you experienced that, or have you seen a healthy culture bring in more healthy individuals?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think you answered your own question. I think a healthy culture definitely brings in healthy people. Dave Ramsey says, thoroughbreds run with thoroughbreds and donkeys run with donkeys, right? And so
Mm,
the more people you attract in your organization that are stars, they're rock stars, or they're A players, they're the kind of people you want. They network with those kind of people. They spend time with those people. They go to church with those kind of people, and so that has definitely helped us. Now we're not immune to the what happened over the past 3 or 4 years. They're
sure.
definitely at one point the quiet quitting and the great retirement, all that had effect. We had a lot of people retired at ACR Supply, believe it or not, and trying to replace that experience is like wow, it's really hard. I think we've had like I don't have the number in front of me, so I might be wrong here, but about 7 or 8 people just in the past year and a half or so have retired, and with 92 team members, that's a pretty big number.
Yeah.
So we've had to really work hard to. I can't remember the original question. We've had to really work hard to make sure that we continue to attract those right people and make sure we get them on the bus and get them in the right seat and continue to make sure. We also one thing we do, Robert, I think is the best practice that everybody should do is we pay a finder's fee for our people to refer someone. And we say, don't be afraid to refer somebody. Let us vet them. We'll vet them and make sure they're a good fit and they match our values. But
Right.
and then so if they do, then we pay them a certain amount of money after 3 months, after 6 months, and after a year. And that can vary depending on the market. We've actually gone up to one time. There's a couple of times we were paying some people $5,000
Mm,
and a finder's fee. But you think about how hard it is to find somebody when it was really getting tough there for a bit. Now we're back down to I think it's 1,000. But yeah, it's referrals are it. I have found this though. I found that places like Indeed and some of the other online marketplaces where people put job postings or their resumes. I found that's good for people relocating to the area. We've had some fantastic hires where people would
mm,
go on our website after finding out we were out there, moving from Ohio, moving from New York. We have a lot of transplants, a lot of people that have come from the
yes.
Midwest or even up north, and they're fantastic people. But if you start rehashing local people on Indeed or on a public job site like that, normally that hit rate or that success rate's 1 or 2% at best.
Mm.
But if somebody's relocating, that goes up a lot higher. So, but we've been blessed. To answer your original question, we have. I think people here. We just hired a guy in Greensboro, and he knows a lot of the guys that work there. And he's heard of at church over and over again about how much they love coming to work. That has an effect. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so I think that's we got our warts like everybody else. We got our faults. We're not perfect in any way, but overall, I think the majority of our people feel that same way. So when it comes time to hire somebody, they're out there talking, especially if they know there's going to be a nice little finder's fee for them. So, but we have had our problems with that. But overall, I think right now we're full. We've got all our positions filled, and we feel really good about where we are right now, especially in the retention and employee market.
Now we all have blind spots, and I know you're intentional about trying to shine a light on your own, and you do that in many different ways. But one of those is the best Christian workplace survey. And can you? I know you were doing a survey that you kind of generated yourself before that,
Yep.
but tell us a little
Hmm.
bit about BCW, why you
Yep.
have used it in the past, and were you nervous the first time
Sure.
you got your results?
Of course. Actually, I've been talking to you about it. I was going, oh man, do I really want to do this? But I did learn a long time ago, Robert, because you're right. We have been doing what we call a culture survey for probably 15 plus years before that. We started with BCWI, I think 2018, but yeah, the one thing you can't do is you can't ask somebody to give you their honest opinion and then get mad at them for telling you, right? And I think I was
Yeah.
probably guilty of that way early on. And I learned, man, that's not what you do, right? You tell people to give honest opinions, anonymous, honest opinion, and then you take that feedback and you work with it. And so, yeah, we started in 2018, but because we have been measuring and then acting on that feedback for a long time, I feel like we were kind of down the road versus just starting it. But it was for the first time we had done a fully outsourced outside entity to come in and measure like that our employee engagement. And I was nervous, but we ended up having we scored a flourishing culture, and I know for many of your listeners know what that's about. But you have healthy, and then you have flourishing, and so I felt really good about getting that score, and we've hovered about that same number since 2018, a little up, a little down, but overall a very healthy culture. But I cannot say enough good things about BCWI, and I don't get paid anything for promoting them, but I talk about them a lot
Me too.
because oh man, I mean, it's so inexpensive for what you get back. I'll give you an example. Um, they measure everything. I don't have the study in front of me, but they measure pretty much every aspect and even every department of your organization, as long as it has 4 or more people in it. I think that's the number. And so when we do our annual planning offsite towards the end of the year, we already have our survey results. I think we get it back in the September, October timeframe from our BCWI survey. And it gives you, it'll give you your top 10 areas that people love the most about your organization. And then they like then there's the bottom 10 that they least like about your organization, or maybe areas they wish would improve. So, man, what's really great is by the time we get to our offsite, our leadership team has already grabbed that bottom 10 list and they're already knocking them out. They're already working on them and solving some of those problems before we even get to the offsite meeting. So it's pretty cool. And I think the last year we solved 3 or 4 of them before we even got to the offsite meeting. But that's our playbook. When you get that survey back of the results, I get the executive survey. I'll go right to those 10. Okay, what are the 10 areas our people like least about ACR Supply right now? Let's begin to work on those. And it's proven to be a really effective tool with a huge ROI because, like I said, it's very inexpensive, and we work with their people, and we actually bring someone on site to help do the review. It's been phenomenal. I just can't say enough good things about it.
Well, that's great to hear because that's very similar to what I do and what we do at Classical Conversations is we go to that bottom 10, and you can't fix all 10 every single year, but we try to say what are the 2 or 3, maybe 4 that we can really impact this year. And so my goal is to one day to have all of those bottom 10 be above the 50th percentile. So we've got one
That
left.
would be phenomenal. I
We've
got that's great, man. Congratulations. It's a challenge, but I tell you what, man, it's so good because you really have and people want to know, are you working on it? So that's a big important score for me. Is people, are we responding to what you're saying? Are we actually acting on your feedback? And you're right. Sometimes you can't fix them, but what you can do, Robert, you know this already, is you communicate about it. You talk about it very openly and candidly. Well, this is the way it is because of these reasons. We wish we could change this, but actually we can't. There's nothing we can do to control this outcome or whatever, but you're communicating about it. We found that to be very helpful.
Okay, you guys, I can't believe I'm saying this, but honestly, there are few things I've been more excited about lately than the Math Map. The Math Map is the new Classical Conversations curriculum for Foundations through Challenge 4, and it was designed by our founder, Lee Borton, specifically to teach parents the language of math. So what does learning language and learning math have in common? Well, a foreign language and math both have specific vocabulary concepts and notation that are often unfamiliar at first. With Math Map, you can discover and become familiar with this language of math. So right now, Classical Conversations members can access an exclusive sneak peek of the beta release of the Math Map Naturals on CC Connect. As you walk through these lessons in the Math Map Naturals and become more familiar with the language of math, you'll be better equipped to teach and to have conversations with your children about math. This beta release of the MathMap Naturals won't stick around forever, and so you definitely want to take advantage of it while you can. If you're looking for it on CC Connected, all you'll do is log into your account and then navigate to the Learning Center and search the MathMap. Have fun. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah, we've seen the bottom 10 scores just go up, not with anything changed, but just being able to proactively communicate. And we've seen scores go down because we forgot to communicate about something and why something is. And so it's been really, really good. And yeah, typically we get those scores back. And when we do a presentation with the all hands meeting, is they're saying, okay, here are the bottom 10. Here's the 3 or 4 that we're working on this year. So be prepared. And this is, we don't necessarily have a full game plan at that point always, but we'll say this is kind of some of the steps that we're going to be taking to try to help you have a happy and healthy work. Because I always say if you're going to be at the office 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week or more, sometimes, we want you to be happy. Don't want you to have the case of the Mondays or be dreading work on Sunday. What are some of the things that you've seen, or how have you used this BCW survey results to make changes in the organization? Is there like an example that the result was X and we did Y and got Z?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the areas that we as an organization have struggled with over the years, and it really came out a couple of years ago, so we've been working on it really hard, is benefits and specifically around health insurance. So now we have a menu of options for our people now, which includes Sedera, which health sharing type model, and all the traditionals as well. But we got a lot of negative feedback about that whole process, about our benefits, specifically around healthcare. And we knew that it wasn't great. We knew we wanted to make it better, but we got some very specific feedback that helped us understand better about what we needed to do to make it better. So that score's come up in the last few years because we really have worked hard on that to make it a more positive experience and easier to work with, and just better coverage overall as well. So yeah, that's one example.
Now, I know you do a lot of training in crucial conversations, and sometimes people get crucial conversations and classical conversations
Yes, they
confused.
do.
But
So true.
what what is crucial conversations? And I think I know it's a tool that we use and you use at work, but it's also something families can use at home because we all have crucial conversations. So, can you give us a brief overview and why you are so passionate about giving that tool to your team members?
Sure. So a number of years ago, a friend of mine named Tony Donato, he was working at a company here in the Research Triangle Park, and he had told me about this class that his supervisor had been certified to teach, and it was called Crucial Conversations. That's the first time I'd ever heard of it. I found the book and just began to learn more about it. But I was infatuated with the whole concept. I said, man, I want to learn more about this. So I started looking it up. I actually went to Chicago at the time to take the class, the actual 2-day class itself. And then right behind that was 2 days for the facilitator training to be certified to teach it. Because I love the topic, because historically I've been a guy that I'm a peacemaker kind of guy. I think maybe a lot like you. I didn't like confrontation. I thought all confrontation was bad. But that's not true. Healthy conflict is not only necessary, it's vital for an organization to be successful. And you've got to create an environment where people feel like they can put their ideas on the table and be able to talk about them, even if they passionately disagree with one another. And so as I began to think more about this, as I took the class, I went, man. So I decided then, I said, we have got to take everybody at ACR Supply through this. So I slowly but surely brought everybody in and took everybody that we currently had hired, part of our team, through the class. It took a while. And now every fall and every spring, I'll hold a class for all the new team members. I think I've got 8 signed up for, I think it's September, October this year, that are new team members that'll be going through it. So it's a 2-day class. And really it's all about helping people get unstuck, because we all keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. It's the height of insanity.
Yes.
And the way we communicate with our spouses, the way we communicate with coworkers, is helping people learn tools, like you said, tools to learn how to be better, especially when passion is high, when there's high risk, and when something's at risk, and people are really a strong disagreement is happening. It just really helps you and equips you with those tools to be able to hold those conversations well. And that's been a break. It's been a breakthrough for me personally. My wife loves it when I teach the class because I'm relearning these skills. I've taught it a lot of times now, but she knows I'm teaching the class because I'm getting better at it, right?
Yeah.
And learning how to have those crucial conversations and hold those conversations well. And so it's really been. I had one of the guys tell me one time in our not long after the class that he really believed it was instrumental. The class was specifically one of the modules about help saving his marriage.
Mm.
And that's you're talking about impacting people's lives. That's the stuff that fires me up. That's what motivates me. And so if I can give somebody the tools they need to be better communicators at home and at work, that's to me that's a win-win. And so that other area I'm passionate about was financial peace. So I feel like finances and communication are two of the biggest threats to marriage. They're two of the biggest causes for divorce. And so we make sure everybody at ACR Supply goes through financial peace, but also crucial conversations to make sure that we're equipping them. Troy's not going to tell them what to do with their money. I'm not going
Sure.
to tell them how to communicate with their spouse, but I'm going to give them the tools to hopefully they can improve and impact their lives in a positive way.
So, Troy, am I to understand that you, as a business owner, care about the marriages and the family health
Oh
of your
yes,
employees?
oh yes, oh yes. Very much so. Before COVID, we had taken a large group of people to the Weekend to Remember, and so I think it's Dennis Rainey's group. I think that's the
Yeah.
name of it, but yeah, and so we're invested. We've not done that since COVID, but I'm hearing they're starting back up, and I would love to get some more people. Man, it's vital. I want people to. I've seen and I've walked through, currently walking through two different team members that are going through divorce right now, and it pains me. It's hard. I want to cry with them
Mm.
because it's horrific, and we know what God thinks about divorce. And so, anything that I can do to help people not have to go through that, and to be able to have a solid marriage, so a God honoring marriage, I want to do it. And so, it's worth my time and effort. And so, we're going to invest. Whatever we can to help people have healthy and strong marriages here at ACR.
Mm. Well, I know that you've been inspirational to so many people with how you've integrated your faith into your business. Um, Obviously, as new employees come on, you've been doing this for a while now, so I'm guessing the current employees are used to it and expect it and know what Troy is about. But do you ever get pushback or comments from new employees where they're saying, we heard that this was a great place to work, but we didn't understand, what it really meant?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'll tell you something. Believe it or not, I interview everybody that we hire, and I'm usually one of the last two or three interviews. I try to do them face to face, but usually it's by phone because it may be anywhere in the state. For the most part, I tell people when I'm doing the interview, the biggest adjustment they're going to make or have to make, and will be a struggle, is adapting to the culture. And then, because I tell them everybody has to contribute to the culture and the profitability every single day, and that's going to be your biggest struggle, is contributing to the culture. Because what I found out, Robert, is everybody wants to be part of a great work culture, but not everybody wants to contribute to it. And so we hold
Mm,
people accountable to actually contribute to that culture every day. That means finding people doing stuff right, loving people well, caring for them, asking about how the family's doing, whatever. Just but honestly and sincerely and authentically caring for people around you. So what I found is this: it's nobody's really pushed back. But what I did do, I did change based on one of my leaders give me some feedback. We would give a Bible. I'd give a nice leather bound Bible with their name on the front to everybody who came to work when I did the orientation. We
mhm.
moved that to a year out because it kind of put some people back on their feet, a little bit and so we do that now. And so now I do 1 year anniversaries. I've had like 9 in the past 2 months. 1 year
Mm.
anniversary luncheons I have with everybody, and I'll have them their monogram Bible, and I'll give it to them. By then, they're fully integrated to the culture. They understand the culture. They're bought into the culture. But yeah, I don't think I've never had anybody complain. Well, there was one temp, I think, one time that said something to the effect or had a negative comment about us being faith based, and our HR person said, "Listen, you knew exactly who you were joining because we're very upfront."
Yeah.
When we bring people on, we're very transparent. We have it out there on media, on our website, who we are. We want to glorify God in all that we do, and we're a faith-based organization. And our literature, we have a lot of literature in the showrooms. We have these books from I can't remember the name of the company, but they're help books that are all gospel centered. So we're constantly, we have scriptures on our invoices that we
Mhm.
send out. So we're constantly out there telling people who we are, so that when and if somebody does say something later on, well, you knew who we were. And so, but it's rarely, I feel like I'm not being bold enough, to be honest with you, Robert, because we don't ever really get many complaints. I know if
Mhm.
we lived in the Northeast, you and I were up in the Northeast running a business, or in the Northwest, or some
Yeah.
other parts of the country, we might get a lot more pushback. But I rarely, if ever, and the people, even the lost people who come to work at an organization, get it. They understand and want to be around people who care deeply for people,
Yeah.
and who care, who just care for you as a person, as an individual, and they're trying to glorify God, even though they may not believe the same thing
Mhm.
you believe. I think that there's still, it's still that light and dark thing that everybody's drawn to the light. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, I hope I answered
Yeah,
your
we
question.
had a interview with Howard Halstetler, who was an atheist astronomer, but he wanted his kids to be homeschooled around Christians because he wanted his kids to be able to see, you know, other faiths, and through that, he became saved and his family became saved, which is
Praise the Lord.
pretty
That's
cool. And you
awesome,
can
man.
listen to that podcast as well.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
in 1997, you did around, 2-3 million dollars in revenue. You've crossed over 40, on track for 45 this year, I believe.
Right. Hmm.
One of the hardest things about having culture is not creating it, or after creating it is keeping it, especially as you've scaled the business. How do you continue to, score high on the BCW? How do you keep that culture as you get this pressure of, hey, we're trying to grow the business. We've got COVID, we've got, supply delays. We can't get, it's 18 months for us to get this part. I mean, there's a lot of additional pressure these last 3 years. How did you manage to keep it all together? Or
Man,
imperfectly, as we
I
are
think
sinners.
I, I get it. Yeah, I understand. I got to tell you something, man. It may sound overly simplistic, Robert, but I believe it's all about communication. You have to be communicating. And if you're not communicating with your people in a very effective way, then they're going to assume. And when they start to assume, we all know what happens. They usually go negative. So you got to be constantly communicating with people on a regular basis. And so we do that in a lot of different ways. But we are an EOS traction organization, like a
Yep.
lot of the C12 members are. I mean, I'm sure many of your
Yeah, we
podcast
use
listeners have
EOS.
heard
I
of
mean,
that
it
before.
saved our
Yep.
rear end
Yep.
many
Yep. Yeah.
times.
Us too. And through that process that you can issue a headline that everybody's got to listen to. So it's not about emails anymore. Every
Right.
single person, or all 92 people in our organization, are in a traction or a level 10 meeting every single week. And you're going over issues. You're being held accountable for your goals, or what they call rocks. And but the most important thing is that the things that are relevant and matter are communicated verbally to everyone, so they can actually hear them by their leader. That to me is a game changer. And so, if there's something going on, there's something we need to address. Believe it, we can communicate from every leader to their direct report in that level 10 meeting every single week. That's huge. I mean,
Mhm.
it saved us too. It's turned everything around for us, and we've experienced significant growth, and our culture continues to get better. Additionally, we also do. I don't think I mentioned this. We do a quarterly value survey. So we ask it. We just got through with it, and so we're
Mhm.
always measuring every quarter. How are we doing? Are we, as an organization, living up to the values that we claim to be so important for ACR Supply, which are humility, hungry, people smart, ethical, stakeholder, and positive attitudes? So we're always measuring that as well, and seeing how we are doing as it relates to to that. And so it's been difficult. It's not easy. You know that. To answer your question, there's always moving parts. There's always something going on. People have major life events that take place, like the 2 divorces I told you I'm walking through with these guys on. There's always things moving around. But the thing is, our leadership team is constantly engaging those things. We try not to ignore. We try not to. Some organizations build what I call a gap or insulation. They
Mm.
insulate the leaders from the people because it's just too messy, or it's too painful, or God, you got to hear all that stuff. Well, we integrate those two things. We don't want that gap or that chasm, if you will. We want to make sure that the line from the very entry level person all the way to me or Mark Bray, our president, or Corey, our COO, is very short, and so we can actually be communicating. And through those that traction level 10 meeting every week, a lot of that's able to happen. Additionally, this, you probably do the quarterly conversations, or what
Yep.
they call 555s. And so every direct report is getting feedback and being able to give their leader feedback every 3 months. And dude, that's huge, man. So we keep track of that. It's all online. I can go look at those 360, those 555s. It's just that I think those are the kind of things that we're doing along with the BCWI that are really helping us maintain a healthy culture.
Troy, you've given me at least 3 nuggets of things that I'm like, okay, I'm doing these things, but I'm not doing them quite as well as you're doing. So I
I don't know
really,
about that.
well, I'd take people out for their annual lunch and, thank them and ask them for their candid feedback and what we're doing well and what can we improve, what they've seen at other places that have done well that we aren't doing well. But I haven't gone to that extra step to give them the Bible. So, that's a to do, I guess, for me to add on to our 1-year anniversary. What are some of your maybe 2 or 3 books that you would highly recommend to someone listening to this in order to, um, you know, continue engaging, building healthy cultures, whether it's at work or in their own home?
That's the hardest question of the day, man. I'm telling you, man. I don't know how to answer that. There's so many good ones out there. I'll go ahead and tell you, 5 dysfunctions of a team from Lencioni is it's
Yep.
a game changer. Obviously, good to great. I know it's dated, but man, there's just so many good truths in that book that we use, and many of these books we use in our leadership development program, because we have a 3-year leadership development program we have, and required reading and all that. So, love those. The 4 obsessions of an extraordinary executive, ideal team player. But I read one recently that I had never heard of, and I want to tell you about too. I think you might really, really like it. It's called "It's Your Ship" by Michael Abrashoff. I think I pronounced it. I can't remember, but it's a fantastic book, and
Mm.
it's one of our leaders in the Navy, and how he ran his ship. He turned his ship around from being the worst in the Navy to the best. And I'm telling you, it's a great read. I highly recommend that to everybody. But those are some of them. I'm sorry I went over 3, but I
Sure.
can't help myself. I love it. Yeah, those are some that we read with our leadership team.
Mm. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Troy, and giving us these nuggets of knowledge that we're able to really implement and inspire in our own lives.
Been a joy being here, Robert. I love you. I respect you so much for what you're doing in your organization and the impact you're having for the kingdom around the world, and for all the people that are with your organization or somehow tied to it. You got a great leader. He's a wonderful man of God, and I'm just grateful to have him as a friend. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much. And it's acrsupply.com if they want to go check
Hmm.
it out.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I would love it if you would go give us 5-star rating on your favorite podcast app. Continue to share these episodes with your friends. Let's continue to grow our community, because episodes like today help us all improve as humans, as Christians, as mothers and fathers. And we can all learn together by practicing the 15 tools and getting inspiration from great leaders like Troy. So until next time, keep practicing those tools of learning.
Thank you for listening to Refining Rhetoric with Robert Bortons. Want more? Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss an episode. You can also follow us on social media to continue the conversation, and visit classicalconversations.com/rhetoric to find out how you can join a local homeschool community.